One of the things that struck me about yourself when I got to know you on more of a kind of a personal and a musician level was how obsessed you are with some gear. Almost to an anorak level at times, Aziz.
Yeah, no, I admit it. I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
It was quite unique coming into Stone Roses for me. You know, it wasn't a genre that I was familiar with. It wasn't an easy fit. The only easy fit was coming from a working class council estate background.
So yeah, you've obviously been playing with this pedal board here.
Yeah.
Anything off what on the pedal board? Which ones of these have stood out to you? But you've gone, I really love that. I really love that.
Well,
obviously you love them all, but which one you love more? Hello guys, welcome along. Ant here from the AVSL group with NUX Guitar Effects. And it's an absolute pleasure and a privilege. We're meeting up with the one and only Aziz Ibrahim today.
Oh, thanks, Ant.
We're here to talk about some NUX Guitar Effects. I know that obviously we've known each other for many years and kind of, but over the last couple of years we've got to know each other a little bit more around kind of gear and meeting at trade shows and different guitar shops and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, people
our brand NUX caught your eye?
People who love guitars, we're always running into each other in various places, and especially when something new comes along. Yeah,
That's
for
it.
me, yeah, that's definitely where we met, isn't it? Again.
Again, it's quite rare you see new faces these days. You go to these guitar shows and it's like long lost family reunions.
It can be. Yeah. I mean, it's different kind of guitar shows, isn't there? Trade shows, but
There is.
For me, it's as long as new products are there as well. So yeah, I do like having new faces. New faces bring new ideas as well.
Well, no, it's a pleasure. Thanks for coming down and having a chat with us.
Pleasure's all mine. Absolute pressure.
So a little bit about yourself. Obviously, the people you've worked with kind of in the past kind of speaks for itself. Two big ones that jump out is obviously Simply Red and the Stone Roses. So a little bit about kind of your career, where you're up to these days.
I mean, I never assume people know anything about you, but I think with the music industry, the bands, or rather the population around you, the community around you, like I'm a Mancunian, so obviously Manchester born and bred, everything's heavily influenced by, Tony Wilson's, Factory and the bands that came from, from the Joy Division eras and onwards. And
Absolutely.
Everybody talks about the Smiths and the Roses, but I'm not that guy really. I know I was the guy who replaced John Squire in the Stone Roses, but really I'm not that guy. I'm the guy who's been in reggae bands for 10, 15 years, worked with the likes of Barrington Levy and Freddie McGregor, Dennis Brown. I was in Rebel MC for a while, MD'd for Errol Brown Hot Chocolate for a while. I worked on the soul scene, R&B, and then before I joined Simply Red in 1987, I was actually more of a metalhead.
Really?
Yeah. Every guitar I had was an Ibanez.
Yeah.
Or Ibanez, depending on how you pronounce it. And when I joined Simply Red, I had this metallic pink, they called it Cherry Ice, Pro Series Ibanez, and a 7-string. And it was one of the first 7 strings on the market, I think, the electric guitars from Ibanez. It was a prototype. So there's this world around Simply Red and the Stone Roses. It's just that where I live, and then obviously the people that I've got to know are very pro, alternative indie, post-punk, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's Manchester's identity to a core. It screams and shouts it and lives and breathes it.
But I've always been more diverse than that. It was quite unique coming into the Stone Roses for me. It wasn't a genre that I was familiar with. It wasn't an easy fit. The only easy fit was coming from a working class council estate background. That's the level we related at. Yeah, musically, I'm talking as a guitarist and playing music and understand. When I did join, that's where I really started learning about guitar playing and about music and about voicing and sound. How to get the sound that you want and how to build your identity, really, how to concentrate on being yourself.
Because was you really trying to kind of dial in that tone that John had, or was you looking at, obviously you that's for songs. That's the
absolutely. That's what you're doing. You're there for that reason, you know.
Did you get the opportunity to stamp your own little kind of mark on some of it?
Well, that's what you would call the Ian Brown solo era.
Okay, yeah.
That came in as a songwriter.
Unfinished monkey business.
Yeah, right, as a composer. So I moved on. In a sense, you know, it was a good thing about the demise of the Roses for me, because obviously it took me into a composer direction.
Great album.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Brilliant
thanks,
album.
I mean, you know, after so many years, because it is an old album, and the albums that followed as well, but the response I get from people who still remember songs like My Star and Corpses in Their Mouth, and you know, One Way Ticket to Paradise, and there's alongside M13 and Getting High. There's so many songs, and then the songs I co-wrote with Paul Weller or played on it. It's kind of, you start to see the response from people, and that is also a help in terms of shaping yourself, your voice, your sound, the equipment that you use, everything, the choices I make, that, you know, there's thought behind it now, always.
Yeah.
Every note, every playing. So, I mean, obviously, you don't think too much about music. I'm still a MKII, and I still think in terms of enjoying myself.
That's
it. When you're on stage, you just relax and play and enjoy the moment.
You're in your element, yeah.
Yeah, and be yourself. That's the main thing, I think, is how do you get to that place? Some people have no problem doing that, but I think because I've got an overactive mind, analytic mind.
One of the things that struck me about yourself when I got to know you on a more of a kind of a personal and a musician level was how obsessed you are with some gear. It's not just, obviously you're a phenomenal musician, but almost to an anorak level at times, Aziz.
Yeah, no, I admit it. I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
I'm a guitar geek, I'm a nerd, a tech nerd, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, it's what makes me get up every morning and want to move forward. I just couldn't stay there with that one guitar and that one sound and that's it. You know, I don't want my life to be a tube screamer and a Fender amp or a Marshall or a Vox or something, and that's it. Because
there's a time and place for that.
It's like living on an island.
Yeah.
And not exploring the rest of the world. And I would just want to explore the rest of the world.
Yeah.
You know?
So talking a little bit about our gear, when you were obviously the first stuff that you kind of started using and came across was some of the wireless kits and some of the floor tuners that we did. I think that was the first thing that kind of caught your eye with Nuax and the stuff that you started using. And more later, so the B8, the Pro wireless kit, when we stepped up to that.
Yeah.
And then even more recently, you've had a chance to play through some of the effects and kind of some of the single stomp boxes in the core range.
Yeah, I have. So. I mean, I won't stop, you know, I won't stop until I've been through the whole range and been through every single, because that's just the way it is, you know. It's more about the opportunities. You know, meeting you guys has been more about the opportunity to be able to explore. And I think there's a lot of problems for artists in general. You know, what you can afford, what you can't afford, the opportunity to be able to try something. So I remember when I was at music shops, you know, I used to get put off by salespersons who would put you off by saying, you know, put that down or don't touch that or we don't stock that and we're not going to help you in any way, shape or form. And it always just put me off. But
one of my first welcomes when anyone came into my shops when I was working in guitar shops was, look mate, it's not expensive wallpaper, it's all there to be played, let's treat it with care, but first and foremost it's to be played.
Well, you and we're cheeky manx, you know, I'll probably annoy somebody by making pull down guitars off the wall all day long and then trying but not buying, if you know what I mean.
Oh, you did that to me in the past.
I'm sure I'd do a bit of that. I mean, it was when you're like 9-10 years old going in guitar shops, you know, it's trying but not buying. You can't afford what's there, but you can afford maybe the plectrum or the, you know.
But you don't know when they can afford that or come back. You've
you
got
know,
to treat people with respect and give people the opportunity.
Well, I mean, I'm a living example of that. You know, I'm coming off a council estate. I'm coming from a working class family, playing music, and all of a sudden I'm catapulted into a world where the band, aka the Stone Roses, hand me a 1959 Gibson Les Paul, and that's not it. And you can estimate the value of that. handed me a 1959 Gibson ES345, a 1959 Strat, a 62 Strat, 64 Strat. The total value of that, God knows. So it can happen. You can go from my K's
catalogue,
K bass on K guitar, and my Watkins Rapier, and then all of a sudden you've got the most expensive guitars in the world. It can happen.
Yeah.
You know. So, but what I'm saying is that the exposure to the equipment, the opportunity to play things, I never take for granted because I'm exploring sound, the sonic landscape, and I don't know what's going to trigger something for me. You know, I mean, coming to these pedals. Yes, I began with wireless systems because in this day and age, even though, you know, I'm 61 and people go, yeah, that old bugger, but my mind isn't 61 and my heart isn't. I'm always thinking about, like today, I'm thinking about content creation. So my biggest problem is being, and it's probably the same problem for a lot of people, is being in a small space. And you've got too many cables to trip over. You've got a very small space, and you don't want tripods. You know, you're trying to put a microphone on a stand and things, and you've got these tripod legs taking up all the room. So cables and stands, I'll be buying round bass microphone stands with heavy basses. They take up very little space, and I'll be using wireless systems. Because I need no wires, I need something in my ears so that I can hear what I'm doing. I need something, the guitar needs to be wireless. But problem with wireless systems has always been these compander circuits and so forth, the hiss and the noise. And when it shifted to digital, something like the B8, and also the 5 gigahertz unit.
Yeah, so I think originally you tried the RB5 and the C5, one at 2.4 gig and one at 5.8. And you used them live for
straight away. I'm
Yeah.
playing in bass 6 in a girl band, in a woman band, I should say. And I'm the bass player, or the token male bassist, in a band called Tuareg. And I needed, straight away, we were doing gigs and we take chances on everything because it's a post-punk garage band and Carrie is the guitarist and lead singer and I'm playing bass. I tried 2 systems out of the 5G because our set was so basic, but I needed clarity and I needed to be able to move around, mainly because we're always fighting on stage. So I need to be able to get away before she hits me with the guitar. So I tried the 5G, because I've never tried 5G systems for guitars, and I always wondered, is that going to work? Is that, is that a thing? Because obviously it's in a less crowded frequency.
Yeah,
That's one of the main things for me. The 2.4 for me has always been, depends on how many people are in that room and sharing that frequency.
And nowadays, as technology is moving on, it's not necessarily just for band or the musicians on stage for wireless that is using that 2.4. Everyone who's just in the crowd can be everyone's jumping on some kind of wireless these days. So 5.8, you're right, is a less crowded. It's still very much in its infancy in the world of kind of...
And that was another reason, actually, if you want to jump to the end. My reason for being interested in UX was because I looked at the company as a whole and the manufacturing processes and the factory tour that Rob Chapman did.
Great video.
But it was a great insight. And I was just blown away, and I thought the attention to detail, even hygiene and so forth, anything that affects the manufacturing. But then I thought also about improvements, about updating, about how it moves forward, and I thought, this is how it should be. It shouldn't be like, you make a product and that's it, forget it. It's about, well, how's that product doing? How's it serving the artists? What's the feedback from the artists? And I can see that it's a company that would actually keep moving forward, keep taking on board the feedback and keep improving. And that's more about the way I am, because you can use something with nothing's perfect. I'm not perfect. You might be perfect, Hans, I've heard.
Far from.
But
only on a Wednesday.
Only on certain days, You're not God, are you? Sorry, I'll be a Sunday. But I think, it's more about that for me. It's about, can it do the job for me right now?
Yeah.
And will it be improved in the future?
Yeah.
That's all I want.
I think when you look at the bit that hit me about NUX, working with them, they are a very forward-thinking tech company, first and foremost. Sure. But at the heart of it is musicians.
And also the staff that go with it, yourself, you know, your team. I think from an artist perspective, you know, you need to be able to talk to somebody about it, because you are going to say, oh, this ain't right and that's not. Or could it be more this? Or could it have that? And if you've got that system, you know, in place that you can import, then, you know, that's more, I think, useful to an artist.
Yeah.
That you can actually provide useful feedback, and that the company's listening as well. But at the end of the day, it's also
This is why talking with people like you, and why I've always been completely honest with you, for that feedback's essential for us to be able to kind of, be fit for the future. But you're right, it's about right now, and trends move so fast, but in this world as well, there's absolute staples which will always remain. Do you know what I mean? A tube screamer is always going to be on someone's board. You know, whether it be a delay pedal, a modulation pedal, whatever they're using, there's going to be staples along the way. So I think NUX do a good job of tipping the hat to the heritage and the tradition while looking at future trends and what things are doing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, whether you like them or not, tube screamer circuits are within pedals without you even knowing them, or they're based upon that circuit, or the whole industry or future is built upon those, call them industry standards. So it doesn't have to say that, but it can be that. It's the job that it does at the end of the day. You know, a tube screamer is a mid-range hump pedal, and other things too, not just that, and the buffer of it, because a lot of people use them just for the buffers and turn off the actual distortion. So but it comes to, for instance, I mean, I've been using these two pedals here, the metal core and the drive core. And what I found with these is there's almost too much choice. That you'll find too many sounds. Now, the thing about being an artist and about being in a band or being a performer is that sometimes you don't need all those choices. I'm not saying that you don't want them, but I'm saying that if you have a band and you're writing songs, then there are certain sounds that you will always use that you find fit the band. And it's about the fit. It's like frequencies on a guitar. That, you know, the guitar, when you want it heard, it has to almost sit in ugly frequencies for it to cut through the band frequencies. So you got the bass player, the drummer, the keyboards, the samples, the whatever. So the purpose of these is to make the guitar heard.
Of course. And
you've got too much choice on here, which is a great thing for me, because I'm exploring new sounds now with these. I found there's emulations, but it's provided in almost a digital way. It's an analog sound, but it's provided in a digital way where I can select the sounds I need easily. I've got a control over the sounds to get to the sound that I want. And the one great feature about this drive core is that I'd have to stick another boost pedal, or it'd have to be wider with a boost switch. But in here, you've got the option of a very, I think they call them intelligent foot switches, am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, you just hold it down and it goes to the boost function.
It goes to the boost function.
And the LED will tell you you're on that function. And that's a great feature because it's all in the one pedal.
Yeah, and we've also built that same function into the B8.
And because of that, I can use a tuner on the wireless. I don't need to have a tuner on the board. The B8's already got the tuner in it.
So B8, as you know, was quite a step up from where we were with the B5s and the C5 to it's a more of a pro outfit. It's a belt pack to a cable rather than a piece of plastic. And then you've got your tuner, you've got your boost. It's all pedal board mounted.
A lot of things are also about aesthetics, and you know, it's like this. Look at this Punjabi wedding guitar that I've got. This Gretsch, you know, Paisley Penguin. That I play it for the aesthetics. I play it because of the looks. You know, it's a beautiful guitar.
Definitely a balance in that. Yeah.
And it's the same with the pedals. I look at pedals, and the world of pedals is the colour, the look, the knobs you've chosen, and that's an important
Some
factor
people
too.
say it's not important. I think if it wasn't important, they'd all look the same. Do you know what I mean?
We're not all the same, and to me, personally. The colours are important, you know. The artwork, if you look at the world of guitar pedals today, the world is saturated with some of the most it's the golden era of pedal manufacture, and some of them have the most fabulous artwork you've ever seen. There's so much time has been taken over the knobs. That's really important. The kind of foot switches you use, that's noticed. You know, how noisy they are, what, you know, are they...
Especially on the more time-based effects and stuff.
There's so many factors to a pedal. That it's not obvious, but for me, as a pedal geek, that's what I love about pedals. Even the mini series, you know, I don't know what you call that series.
The mini core. So this is the core series.
Yeah.
We've got the Verdugo series. There's the mini core series.
Sorry, I've been calling that the Dougal series, but Verdugo series.
If that works for you.
Yeah, it's a Verdugo.
So yeah, you've obviously been playing with this pedal board here. Anything on the pedal board? Which ones of these have stood out to you, but you've gone, I really love that, I really love that?
Well,
obviously you love them all, but which one you love more?
I think it was more purpose, because I remember I said, you know, you said to me, try these, do that, and I said to you...
Because this was a bit of a working kind of project for a while, wasn't it?
We have to get to a place
as
a musician, what do I need and what do I use? What's most useful to me, what was I suggested was that, could you supply me with a stereo looper for the end of the chain and a mono looper for the beginning of the chain.
I think I came back to you and went, what?
So the reason for that is, for practicality's sake, is that if I want to fiddle with the setup, then I need to loop the sound at the beginning. So it's like a guitarist is playing, but both my hands are free to turn the knobs to get the sound that I want. Right. But when I want to capture the whole sound, my rig is stereo, so I need to have the looper at the end. Now, you could get clever about it and get a stereo looper but I don't need a stereo looper at the end, but you could have one looper that sits in an effects loop. I mean, that's the other thing about the wireless system. It has an effects loop, it has a send and return loop. You can stick all of this into the loop and switch that in and out. It's a great feature. You can use it as a boost pedal. There's so many things to that wireless system that just kind of blew my mind, really. But in this case, I was thinking about loopers and about how I can capture sound and I can be creative. Because this day and age, it's sometimes about that and not the playing of the guitar. So I have a pre and a post looper, and a stereo looper. I mean, there's only a few on the market, and when you introduced me to that was like a godsend, that with the memory and the display, and it's got MIDI, which I use the amp core and the loop core Deluxes via MIDI. Because I've got the new fandangled, you know, 1/8 3.5mm style MIDI cables that go to MIDI DINs or whatever you want, and I can control these. Obviously, I can use the app with the amp core. That's the other thing. I love pedals with apps, and the app with that is brilliant. And obviously, the hook in the mini looper as well.
So you're just using this as a straight up front of the chain looper
for today,
be able to dial in tone.
I've been using it just purely. I've got the drum sound switched off because I want to dictate the. I don't always work in 4/4, and I don't always work in you know 4 to the floor type beats. I work in 7s and 11s and odd time signatures. So I need control of the length of the loop.
And do you think that comes from like your Asian influences in kind of the way you're playing?
I suppose, yeah, South Asian culture, you know, the heritage, that side of me, musically. It's not that I studied it.
Very different rhythmically, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because you've got instruments like the tabla, sitar, sarod, sarangi, santoor, you know, it's endless, harmonium. But it's the musicians, it's the music. As a child, I grew up with listening to Bollywood, listening to Qawwali, listening to so many forms of music which I didn't know. I'm not educated in that. It was just, I grew up with it. And so the time cycles that they were playing in was like every day to me. You know, to hear something in 7 beats, rupak tal they call it, to hear something in 7 beat cycles was just normal. It's like growing up with a piano. Everything will be black and white keys to you if you grow up with a piano. Course, but when you grow up with an instrument which has no frets, then everything in between becomes everyday to you, acceptable. And it's conditioning, isn't it, I think? But But for me, I did have that factor of, which I love actually, you know, to have my mind open to any rhythm in the world. I mean, I worked to Japanese rhythms, Vietnamese rhythms, Thai. I also worked to South American. I mean, I hate to generalize because all countries have so many different forms of music, and it's not all one, and the rhythms of them are fascinating to me. I think I'm more a rhythm player than I am a guitarist lead player, but it helps me decide what I'm using. It's like delay pedals. I pick delay pedals on the rhythms they create for me.
Okay.
So when you introduce these two, the Verdugo series thing, the Duo Time and the Time Core, they're both stereo. Which is fantastic for me because I love the syncopation of the stereo image. I mean, I actually work in quadraphonic as well. Okay. So I'd love to see a couple of pedals that can do quadraphonic sound, but there's ways of doing that, but probably with your multi-effects units, the NUX multi-effects units. But with these two, it opened the rhythm window up for me. It gave me the option. And having the screen on this Duo Time also helped me decide about the timing, about having separate controls over the two dual, delay engines. And the same here, but in a more simplified but more organic format. That's why I like the
the Duo Time does give you the option to real dial in too.
Yeah. But I mean, delay pedals are, that's another world.
It is another world.
I mean, I've got a walk-in
It's one of the nicest
wardrobes.
spaces I love to sit in. It hides 1,000 sins. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there is that. But for me, it's more about you can vanish down rabbit holes of how to, the modulation of the effect, or whether you use completely wet signals or whether you're reversing sound. I mean, in this day and age, what's really popular is obviously the modulation of the wet signal and also the degradation of the delay tone. Because, I mean, you can emulate tape delays, you can emulate analog bucket brigade delays, which these do, they're fantastic in doing that. And I wanted something, I was interested because obviously I like foot switch setups where I can tap tempo easily. But these intelligent switches, again, it allows me to, from the one switch, I can tap tempo and I can switch the pedal off to bypass.
So as you can see at the end of the board here, we've got the Amp Core Studio. Now, this is quite a modern way of working, but one that I'm seeing more and more of.
And so if you think about pedals that emerged that were emulations of Marshall sounds, Fender sounds. You could buy pedals by, prestigious companies who made, this is a Marshall in a box.
That lead channel,
The first pedals that I came across were, I'd have a Fender amp and I wanted to make my Fender amp sound like a Marshall or something, so I'd buy a pedal which said, it sounded like a Marshall, or it was a Blues Breaker style or whatever, but they'd aim it towards Plexi emulation or towards JTM 45, Marshall Super Lead and so forth. So that was my first introduction to it, buying just a simple analog pedal, but by creative design they emulated a certain kind of amplifier sound. I think for people who are writing music and young people who are coming up and they've got a small confined space and you can't mic amps up. I mean, I've done it in the past. I've created great sounds with cheap little portable amps and mic positions and the right guitar, create some beautiful sounds. But to have a pedal where you don't need to stick any microphones in a room up, and obviously the issue with valve amplifiers is always, or tube amps, depending on where you're from, is about the volume. And then if it's about volume, then you need attenuators to bring them down. So these are godsends to be able to have a guitar sound. At the end of the day, you can argue all day long about it's not the real thing, but you're just creating, the bigger picture is you're creating a song or you're creating a piece of music. And what matters is how that piece of music sounds. As long as you're enjoying the process, which I love, playing these new sounds, because some of them are actually new sounds. Some kids, you've never heard the original anyway. You've got nothing to compare it to. You never owned, you know, a PV 5150, or you've never owned a, you know, a Super
Marshall
Lead,
Blues
Marshall
Breaker,
Super,
or
and never
do you know what I
cranked it
mean?
at 100%, you know, over the top
Yeah.
through these stack of 4x12s, and I have. But even so, the amp core, for instance, for me, the fact that it's MIDI,
Yeah.
and that makes it easy for me to use something like a disaster area design controller to be able to, I mean, that's probably something that maybe NUX could do, is the MIDI controller side of it, to control the MIDI functionality.
I think as the range is getting bigger, and I think...
Sure. So but the screen on it, for instance, a lot of them don't have much information, and the you know, that LCD screen on there, the MIDI functionality, being able to, you know, scroll. I mean, using the intelligent foot switch to be able to switch between 2 to 3
the different
amps,
scenes within the amps as well.
scenes in one go.
Yeah.
Mic placement, it's a lot of fun.
There is,
you can create great sounds. What's to complain about, you know?
No, and you know what? In a live setup now, you're at a venue.
The size of it.
After everything comes out in the wash, whether you've got a Mesa Boogie Dual rectifier behind you or one of them, to 99 out of 100 people in the audience in a small venue,
nobody will know.
Nobody will know.
But in this day and age, with the technology that's available and the birth of impulse responses, IRs, and to be, you know, IR loaders, you're working in a DAW, and you know, you've got convolution reverbs and things you can load in any IR, and to load them into pedals is amazing. You know, you can load IRs of maybe an IR of a violin body or a cello body or something, and then you can get freaky, you know, what you can combine internally, and you can load IRs into this as well, and to combine with the amps. The amp emulations are just great. I've played them. I find them, I don't think about them, and that's the main thing. I just go, I can use this sound. That's the main thing. I can use this sound, and I move on, and then I will mess with the sound because I can. You know, I've got the option to load in different IRs. I loaded a bunch of Celestion IRs into there, and using the app, it was so easy. Well, easy to me, maybe I should say. But it opened up a whole new door where I was like pulling out all the IRs I had and trying them out, and then looking at how many I can load in and trying different amplifiers with it. Combinations are just endless. But I think that's the part where...
Marshall JTM through a cat flap.
Something in a Bedouin tent. But I think too much choice sometimes can be your problem. That's your problem.
Where it was to where it's come is in a short space of time. It's amazing. I don't think, and I hope not, that they never become the be-all and end-all. I love amps. I love, as a guitarist, I love the way, I love to feel that wind on your jeans behind you and that little bit of...
and you're talking to a guy with a warehouse with like 10 Marshall 4x12s, probably 10 Marshall heads, and that's not talking about my Fenders and my Voxes and my high watts and stuff, and trust me, it's back-breaking. Trust me, when those transformers blow up on stage, you know, you've got to have an army of people to support you. You've got to have people who, you know, experienced people to be able to fix those things and carry them around. Freighting those things around on airlines are a nightmare for musicians. So the fact that you can, maybe you don't even need to take that with you. The fact that I can probably get a NUX Amp Core Deluxe in France or in Australia or Japan or wherever I'm going, the fact that I can just pick up the same thing somewhere and it'll fit in a bag.
That's it.
I mean...
Turn up at a venue with your guitar on your back and that over your shoulder.
It's the balance, it's the pros and cons of the music, of playing live music. And this is an answer to the needs of musicians. That's what it is.
The versatility, the accessibility of it, and the practicality of it ticks all the boxes.
Look, I have no objections to artists wanting to sit there with a guitar that they refuse to have a cutaway because it affects the tone of the body to have the whole body. Fine, you sit there and play that till the day you die. You know, that's fine. But for me, you know, when new things come along that answer the needs, my needs, I'm going to use them. And I think you can see in the world there's a lot of people like me who they have a need and it's being answered and it's forever moving forward and improving. I don't need to delve too far into that. I just need to get on with writing music and creating.
That's it. Yeah. Get back to the core thing, what we're here for, which is art. So Aziz, currently as a musician, what projects are you working on? What are you doing other than playing with pedals?
I've got a few projects going on at the moment. I mean, I hate to stand still. I really do. I mean, I don't practice guitar, but I do try new things. At the moment, I'm working with the Arts Council England, so I'm emulating South Asian instruments from the guitar. So it's a bit weird, it's hard, because to try and play the Indian tabla, percussion instrument, on a guitar to create its tones. And it's another thing that I look for in pedals is how do I get tones? How can I manipulate the envelope of the sound, the attack, decay, sustain, release? So that project is quite, it's challenging, but I'm going to be playing. It's called Sound of Heritage, and it involves playing in museums to challenge museums in terms of why isn't there music in museums? Why can't you have the history of music in museums and electronics and everything about music? So that's coming for 2026. And it's going to be a national tour, hopefully, or it might be more regional, I don't know. I'm in a girl, as I said, a girl band or a woman band. I'm the token male bassist in a band called Tuareg, Tuareg, and I'm working with Carrie and Selena. Solo stuff, I'm touring solo acoustically. I call it acoustic, but it's actually with a humongous pedalboard. Probably going to get bigger, obviously, with the introduction of the new X pedals to my pedalboard. But the solo shows and 7 guitars on tour, mainly Godins. I've got 2 supports with Tom Meehan from Kasabian coming up, one in Oldham at Whittles and the other in Colne at the Muni Theatre. That's November the 4th and 11th. I just Googled that. Solo tour coming up in February, going through to April. And then one of the big things for me is that I did an album in 2000. It's 25 years old and I never released it. Right. And I asked all my friends from the Smiths to the Roses to Paul Weller, to, Style Council, the late Denise Johnson, Primal Scream, Talvin Singh, Mercury Prize winner, Inda Goldfinger, and the band itself was the Smiths rhythm section, Mike Joyce and the late Andy Rock, bless him, and myself. And I never put the album out. So
they have a rhythm section on the album?
In the band at the time.
That was the band?
And on the album. But it wasn't just those 2. It was also Manny from the Roses, obviously, and Steve White. Rennie.
Steve White was Paul Weller's drummer?
Style Council and Paul Weller, and Rennie did a drum track, some drum loops. There's so many great bassists, and guitarists, players. Paul Weller did vocals and guitar. That album's called Lahore Alongside. It sits in Manchester Museum as a piece of British Asian history, upstairs in the South Asia Gallery.
It's an absolute melting pot of Manchester talent by the sounds of it.
I never put the album out. It's 25 years old. I want to cut it on vinyl. It's going to come out hopefully in April, maybe if I can get it into Record Store Day, April the 18th. But I'm planning a tour for that full band release of the album, probably later on. We're looking at 2026. But from then I've got a lot of work to do. Obviously I've still got the solo tour to do, and the band with the girls, Tuareg. I'm busy, and then the content creation is going to take a step up as well with my new tools, with my wireless systems and my in-ear. I use the in-ear monitoring, and that's
the B7
fantastic.
You do, the new X one, it's a great
It's brilliant. It's superb. It's so useful for me, even when I'm doing like Teams calls with yourselves.
I've seen,
I use the system, and I just find all of the wireless side of life makes my life so easy.
Just have your own control of that kind of, own direct control of in-ear monitoring while you're on the fly is
And on stage, I find it really useful on stage. So I'm looking forward to this tour, all these different tours and the content creation, because I'm just trying to make it more efficient. at the end of the day, it's just about creating something to get from A to B. And the bit in between, I'm just trying to speed up that process and make it more efficient. And I don't mind tools that help speed up, because it's the idea that I have that I'm trying to get to, and then get it to the point of fruition, which is touring and you know, content creation. They're important factors.
You sound very busy. Well, I'm sure we could talk gear all day, but Aziz, thanks for coming down and kind of talking through some of the stuff. As I say, your feedback kind of, we really appreciate it. We want to kind of, it's only through listening to musicians like yourself and a musician with the experience of yourself that we can kind of feed back to kind of the guys at NewX about what the future looks like. And to finish up on a note like that, one pedal that you would like to see NewX do, or something that you look at the range and go, you've not got one of them, and you should have. What floats your boat?
What I like is pedals which, pitch shifters. I love harmony pedals, I love pitch shifters. I think that would be a great addition, because you can, I mean, there is on the verb core, there is a shimmer.
And again, with the intelligent, you can hold.
You can hold and you can blah, blah, blah. But for me, it's having a dedicated pedal that can do the pitch shifting, that can do harmonies, that can do complete shifting, especially if you play in drop tunings or you happen to use a couple of guitars or a 7, 8 string, 10 string or whatever, and you want to go, you could use a pedal that can do that. I think that would be a great addition. I mean, there's so many other suggestions I could make, but I think, yeah, let's just leave it at that. I think a pitch would be probably a welcome addition from my perspective.
Thank you so much for your time, man. Thanks for coming down to see us.
Anytime.
Okay, guys, so thanks for watching. Aziz, thanks for coming down and having a play on the pedals. As always, a pleasure. Check out the links to the stuff we spoke about with Aziz, and give us a like, a follow, all that good stuff. Catch you again soon.